going to read the story by O. Henry. The name of the story is The Gift of the Magi. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one's cheeks burned with one silent imputation of parsimony that such close dealings implied. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it, which instigate the moral reflection that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the glass, her eyes shining brilliantly, but her face lost its color within 20 seconds. She had finished her cry and had attended to her cheeks with a powder rag. Tomorrow's Christmas, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could do for months with this result. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it down to its full length. Now, there are 2 possessions of James Dilling Young's in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. So now Della's beautiful hair fell down about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee and made it itself almost like a garment for her. Then she did up again nervously and quickly. On went her old brown jacket, on went her old brown hat. She fluttered out of the door, down the streets to the street. Where she stopped, she read the sign, hair goods of all kinds. 1 flight up Della ran, and she collected herself, panting, and asked, "Will you buy my hair?" "I buy hair," said Madam. "Take your hair off and let's have a sight at the looks of it." Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madam. "Give it to me quick," said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours she tripped on by rosy wings. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores, and she turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum fob chain, and in design and property, claiming its value by substance alone. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that this must be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and the value, the description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with 87 cents. When Della reached home, her intoxication gave way a little to prudence and reason. She got out her curling iron and lighted the gas, went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love. At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. The door opened and Jim stepped inside and closed it. Jim stopped inside the door, as immovable as a setter at the scent of quail. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments she had prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on his face. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you." "You cut off your hair?" asked Jim laboriously. Cut it off and sold it, said Della. Don't you just like me as well, anyhow? I'm me without my hair, ain't I? Jim looked at me, at the room curiously. You say your hair's gone? You needn't look for it, Della, said Della. It's sold. I tell you, sold and gone. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hair on my head were numbered. She went on with sudden, serious sweetness. But nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim? Out of this trance, Jim seemed quietly to wake. Jim drew a package from his overcoat and threw it on the table. Don't make any mistake, Del, about me. Don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make my girl like my girl any less. But you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while first. White fingers and nimble tore at the string and the paper. There lay 2 combs, a set of combs, side and black, that Della had worshipped long in the Broadway window. Beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell, with jeweled rims, just the shade to wear in the beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simply craved over them without the least hope of possession. And now that they were hers, but the tresses that should have adorned and the hair were gone. Della told Jim, "My hair grows fast, Jim." And she leaped up like a sinked cat and cried, "Woohoo!" Jim had not seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. The dull, precious metal seemed to flash with a reflection of a bright, ardent spirit. "Isn't it dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time of your time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks." Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. "Tell," said he, "let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They're too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now suppose you can put the chops on." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. And being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of 2 foolish children in the flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures in their house. But in the last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these 2 were the wisest. Oh, all who give and receive gifts, such are they the wisest. Everywhere they are the wisest. They are the Magi.